Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Bonney, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Tuesday, January 7th. Today's moves follow a mixed day on Wall Street yesterday to kick off the week. The S&P 500 held on to a gain of 32 points or more than 0.5%, but down from earlier session lows. The Nasdaq also closed in the green, adding 243 points or about 1.25%. The Dow ended in the red, but close to flat, giving up 25 points or 0.06%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Good morning, Emily. Listen, I'm watching the SPs. The SPs are in the green. We're up 0.11%, a little over a tenth of 1%. We were flat to higher, but now we're showing a little bit of positive action, which I guess is, makes you feel good in the morning. I'm seeing some positive action. The banks in the semiconductor spaces. I mean, the banks are higher because Michael Barr, the vice chairman of the Fed, he resigned yesterday, and he's a big stickler for banking regulations. So they're hoping to get someone in there that's going to be less strict with the Trump administration. And the reason why Barr walked away was basically because he thought there was going to be a big fight between him and Trump, and he said, I don't want to deal with that type of legal issues. Semiconductors are up because of Nivida. I'll be more on that in a second. Key economic data points for today. Well, you got that JOLTS report coming out, and the ISM Services Index. So those are going to be keenly watched. I want to point out that Fed Governor Cook delivered a stark warning yesterday on asset valuations. Kind of brings you back to Alan Greenspan and that irrational exuberance comment he made in the late 90s. So her warning was clear, stark, and worrisome. What else do we have? The Biden administration, they placed, Tencent Holdings and contemporary Amperex Technology on a blacklist due to their alleged links to the Chinese military. There's a news article, yesterday indicating that Trump tariffs may be more limited in scope than originally expected. These were denied by President-elect Trump. He's got to deny them because, these are negotiate employees. So if you start watering down your negotiate employees, you got less tools to negotiate with. So I'm not surprised that he denied it. But the truth is probably there. Nvidia CEO, he spoke last night, mainly focused on the non-data center aspect of their business. It's the data center chips that really make them money. That's where their real revenue is coming from. So it wasn't negative. It just wasn't talking about the things that I want to hear about. What else do we have? Ulta Beauty, they raised their 4Q sales figures, and they announced the CEO transition. They say it's orderly, but we'll have to wait and see. But they said they had good fourth quarter holiday sales, which is positive. Then we're taking a look over at Europe this morning. And, for the most part, we're seeing gains. The DAX is up 93 points or 0.46%. The CAC is up 0.78% or 58 points. The FTSE in London is down 21 points or 0.26%. What can I say here? Eurozone inflation reading came in. Yes, it was hot, but it came in as expected, so that was good. But I do see the 10-year bond yields rising, and that's a little bit of a worrisome for me. London home sales weakened a bit, in December, but December's never really a strong selling month, so I'm not too worried about it. But in France, you're seeing luxury stocks gain, so that is a positive. Then we're turning our attention over to Asia last night, and you look at the Nikkei. The Nikkei jumped. Kind of followed the U.S. I mean, it jumped 1.97% or 776 points. Where were the gains? Autos, banks, and technology. Hong Kong, on the other hand, they fell 1.22%, or 240 points. The Biden administration added 2 more names to the blacklist. That's kind of negative for, Chinese stocks because it's kind of showing that the relationship between the U.S. and China is a little bit contentious. So that's not good right there. But China, on the other hand, the Shanghai climbed 22 points, which is 0.71%, snapping their 4-day losing streak. Now, it jumped because of the suggested reports that the incoming Trump administration may be less aggressive with their policies, but that was reneged. That was said, to be untrue by President-elect Trump himself. So those gains might be, wiped away tomorrow morning. Then we're taking a look at oil, and we're seeing some gains in oil this morning. You got WTI trading $74. You got Brent at $76.89. Both are up more than 0.5%. You do have the API data coming out this afternoon after the bell, but it's really this cold winter snap that's we're seeing here in the U.S. in the eastern region that's affecting oil prices today and causing oil prices to trade a little higher. We'll see if they'll be able to hold those gains after this cold snap ends. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning markets update report, Emily.
Bill, in your opening, we can hear sort of there's a little bit of everything going on today, economic data. You even cited Fed speak from yesterday. More on that today. You're looking at political news, corporate news, really covering all bases here when it comes to market moving information. And you're keeping track of that using your NewsWare. One area that you're keeping track of that will slowly start to heat up as we move through January's earnings action. So let's start there, Bill. What is going
We're
on in
talking
terms of earnings?
L&N, Larry, Nancy. This is Lindsay Corp. These guys did deliver a beat last night on higher revenue. When you look at the stock this morning, it's trading up 2%. RPM, they beat on both EPS and revenue, but the guidance was a little weak, and that caused the stock to sell off. And you look at the stock; it's down 3.35%. I mean, the put call ratio with elevated put volume going into the stock, and I mentioned that in my morning report that I sent out to the institutional clients this yesterday morning. So that was something to be wary of. But RPM, falling over 3% this morning. Upcoming tomorrow morning, we got Albertsons. That's ticker ACI, Apple Charlie India. Their EPS is 66 cents, and the expected move is 6.79%. Then we have Greenbrier Company, ticker GBS, Grace Boy X-Ray. They're releasing tomorrow afternoon. Their EPS is $1.16 with an expected move of 9.03%. Put call ratio here is 2.22. That's not good. But that's what I have for you in terms of earnings action, Emily.
And you're also keeping track of economic events, as we heard in your opening. Number of economic reports due today and some more Fed speak. Again, day in and day out, keeping track of this information is important. So we're starting a new year. We're wondering what the Fed may be doing next. What is the healthy economy like? All coupled with the changing of presidential administration. Keeping a pulse on this becomes more and more important. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of economic
First off, I want to
events?
touch base on Fed Governor Lisa Cook yesterday because she delivered that stark warning, by saying valuations are elevated in a number of asset classes, including equities and corporate debt markets, where estimated risk premiums are near the bottom of historical distribution, suggesting that the markets could be priced to perfection and therefore are susceptible to large declines, which could be a result from bad economic news or a change in investor sentiment. Wow, that's pretty clear. She doesn't like where the market's at these days, and I haven't heard anything so stark since the late '90s with Alan Greenspan, his comments back then. In terms of economic reports today, we got 8:30 a.m. You got international trade in goods and services. At 10 a.m. you get the JOLTS data. Also at 10 a.m. you get the ISM Services Index, and then at 4:30 p.m. we get the API stockpile estimates. At 8 a.m. we're going to also be hearing from Richmond Fed Bank President Thomas Barkin as he's scheduled to give a speech. We'll have to see, if this speech continues on the theme that Governor Lisa Cook laid down yesterday. But that's what I have for you in terms of economic activity reports, Emily.
Bill, plenty of to be watching there. You're using your economic NewsWare alert to follow that data, your Fed speak alerts to follow all of that information. And as we can hear, keeping track of this is important. These comments from Fed officials can really move the markets or set a tone moving forward. And there are also plenty of other information to be keeping track of, and you're doing so using your NewsWare, breaking it down into alerts, things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings. You also look at your stocks grouped together every morning, like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly
Just
moving the
doing a
markets
quick data
today?
check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 21 higher, 9 lower. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. I'm seeing mixed to lower activity. Amazon's trading higher, but the rest are weakening. After a big day yesterday. We are seeing the banks trading higher. I mean, that is positive. I mean, listen, when you get this guy Michael Barr, who's the vice chair of supervision, announcing his resignation, I and he's a big hawk in terms of more banking regulations. That's positive for the banks. So I'm not surprised to see the banks continuing their rally. And tech stocks, obviously, are showing gains. That's doesn't really surprise me. We'll see if they're able to hold. But in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, we're not talking Meta. They're going to start in the U.S. They're going to be ending their third-party fact-checking program and moving to community notes mode. I mean, this is kind of troublesome. I mean, the fact of the matter is that when you get news from organizations that are, again, that where you pay for the content, you're getting unbiased information. When you're getting it off of social media, this is biased information. It's likely slanted. It's likely, trying to lead you in a direction, and you got to be really, really cautious on that. At NewsWire, we focus on the professional newswires. You got to pay for these newswires, but they're legitimate, and they have to be accurate because guys have money on the line. You can't be, stating opinions, and when you're doing this end of fact checking, that's not good. Tesla, I see Tesla got downgraded by Bank of America because their future catalysts that they have in the stock, Bank of America feels they're fully recognized already. Stock's down 1.74% in the pre-market. Now we're talking Dow Jones 30 stocks. We're talking Nvidia because that's the key one this morning because the CEO's keynote speech last night focused on non-data center items. It was positive in nature, but it's the data center chips that are key to their revenue. I mean, that's where I wanted to see more of. And Nvidia didn't really come across saying that, but I do look at Nvidia this morning and the stock is showing a 2% gain. We'll see if it's able to hold. Apple, ticker AAPL, India is planning a $2.7 billion in new subsidies to boost domestic manufacturing of electronics, specifically looking for boosting production of things like smartphones. That's good for Apple. Disney agreed to combine its Hulu and live TV streaming service with sports-focused Fubo TV. Under the agreement, Disney's going to own roughly 70% of Fubo. That's positive for both firms. In terms of other merger type news coming out there, SSTK, Sam Tom Kilo, and Getty Images, ticker GTTY, they agreed to combine in a $3.7 billion deal. Phillips 66, PSX, Paul Sam X-Ray, they're going to be buying Epic NGL business for $2.2 billion. That's positive. In terms of guidance, RPM, Richard Paul Mary, they see Q3 revenue flat versus the prior year. Q3 revenues estimate is coming in at $1.55 billion. What else? We got to talk about Ulta Beauty, ULTA. They expect comparable sales to increase modestly and operating margins will be above the high end of the previous guidance. So that's positive for the stock. In terms of shareholders meetings, you got Mobileye. They're going to be making a presentation today at 2 p.m. at that CSS conference. So that's kind of positive. But that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
Ticker MBLY, Michael Boy, Larry Yellow. They're making that presentation at the CES conference today, and it should be a positive event for the stock. I mean, the fact of the matter, all these analysts are out there, they're covering Nvidia right now, and they might as well stick around for an extra day to see with the Mobileye presentation. So I think the Mobileye presentation is going to be positive. I think it's going to be a benefit for the shares. I'm looking at yesterday's call volume, 47,068 versus 10,877. Wow, that's really positive. And it's not really covered by the major brokers. The brokers that do cover it have been raising price targets, which is good to see. But me, I'm looking for an entry price. I'm going to say around the 20, 21, 25, I'll say. And I think if 21.25 to 21.50, I think if it gets in there, it should be able to produce gains. But that's my pick of the day. Mobileye, ticker MBLY, Michael Boyd, Larry Yellow, Emily.
Bill, sort of an event-driven pick today. We're going to keep an eye on that and any comments or coverage coming out of that CES conference. And coming up, we will do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day before we sign off. So stick with us. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Qorvo announces that it is UWB SoC is automotive qualified. Interesting. That could be something. Ray Media announces the return of free NHL hockey broadcast to the St. Louis market. GM, their defense division, they're going to be providing Subaru Shield armored vehicles to Qatar's armed forces. Those are expensive vehicles. Cintas, ticker CTAS, makes a $5.1 billion takeover for uniform supplier UniFirst. I could see that happening. DNLI, Denial Therapeutics, announced that its ALS trial regimen missed endpoints. Stocks trading lower. Abiva lowered its 2024 adjusted profit forecast yesterday as the drug maker incurred a $1.6 billion in acquisition expenses related to milestone payments, as well as R&D costs. A group representing self-driving car companies called on the U.S. government to do more to speed up the deployment of autonomous vehicles and remove barriers for adoption. Google is facing a second complaint for U.S. Labor Board claiming that it is the employer of contract workers and must bargain with their union. Meta Platforms added 3 new directors, including Dana White from the Ultimate Fighting Championship. It doesn't make sense. It's bad. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into trading on this Tuesday, let's do a check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was JD.com. Now, Bill, you did make this pick following that 90-day positive catalyst watch by Citi. They cited JD.com's leadership in China's 2025 national trade-in programs as a boost in their growth, and they maintained their buy rating on the stock and setting a price target of $51. You were hoping to get in at a discount here and, anticipating some momentum from there. Bill, how did your call
really
work out?
I mean, the stock opened up at $35.65 and rallied all the way up to $35.95, which is virtually 1%, but then it just couldn't hold. And the tariff talk was out there, and it just started to get ugly, and the stock wound up closing at $35.14. Yeah, it doesn't take much for the stock to trade 37, but today, yesterday was not a day it was going to happen. I thought that the Citibank, positive catalyst watch would be enough to pull out the game, but evidently it wasn't. But $51 price target, that's a big move on a percentage basis, so it should move higher soon. But JD didn't work out yesterday. I'm sorry. I'll try to do better tomorrow.
Perhaps a longer term play there, Bill, with JD.com. But we will check in with you tomorrow to see how today's pick Mobileye works out, hoping to get the gain there. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.